Hi, my name is Dave Bader with Marine Mammal Care Center. Conservation is something that anybody can be a part of. Here's another conservationist that's working to make the world a better place.
Alright, so my name is Maddelyn Harden. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am a Ph.D. student in the Newstein lab at USC. So conservation is really critically important to me for so many reasons. Of course, there's always preserving biodiversity globally. There's supporting healthy, holistic ecosystems across the board, but also from an intersectional environmentalist perspective, it's also to protect those marginalized communities that are most hit by global climate change. I work specifically with California species of kelp. And not only are kelp, of course, forest-forming ecosystems that are just as important as a coral reef ecosystem or a mangrove forest ecosystem, but they are also cultivated globally. Not just kelp, but many species of algae or macroalgae are harvested. And so working within California to not only sustain these really ecologically important species, but also to help shape a more sustainable aquaculture industry or mariculture industry has implications globally, because by developing a more healthy and sustainable industry, we can, in California, we can kind of create a blueprint that we can emulate globally. And this is really important for gender equity, because a lot of small communities that are fisheries focused also have inherent gender inequality components to them, and this might also help aid those inequalities. It might help support a robust fisheries industry environmentally and from a gender inequality perspective.
It's not only like revolutionary, but it's just kind of like, why haven't we done this before?
Well, I have been involved in conservation for the majority of my life. I began having just the concept of conservation explained to me, or kind of like made present in my life, from about age 12, when I spent time in an intentional community in northeastern Missouri, Dancing Rabbit Eco Village. It was there that I learned about having a more sustainable diet, so that's where I became a vegetarian, eventually vegan. It's where I learned about solar panels and about different forms of fuel, like biofuel, that could help shape our future globally to be more environmental. And it really, it impacted me so greatly that I went on to become a marine scientist in my early 20s, and I worked as a fisheries biologist throughout my 20s before finally focusing on sustainable kelp mariculture as a Ph.D. student. I think that the most important thing to keep in mind is that for me, it wasn't an obvious route, it wasn't an obvious path. My journey began as a marine scientist, and it was very organic in the way that I got into it. I had a friend who was a 7th generation fisherman. Her father was a 7th generation lobster fisherman. So I began working in the fishing industry, and it was there that I learned about the immense impact that understanding environmental health and understanding human rights has on the ability to really heal and sustain ecosystems and human environments or communities, I guess. So I went from there to working in the fishing industry, and it was there that I also learned about kelp science and mariculture and aquaculture. And it was actually in the building that we're standing in that I first moved down to Southern California and began working in this building as a marine biologist. And I met my now PI in my PhD program because I was so passionate about working with kelp and about shaping the aquaculture industry that I was offered a position in his lab as a PhD student. So it's just this really kind of interesting, non-linear progression, and the work that we do, I think, is really helping to shape a more sustainable industry. How do I stay engaged? That's a really good question. So I am driven by a strong sense of community and giving back. I think that just like my science, my whole life should be towards helping to promote and sustain my own community and others from a human and environmental perspective. So what's driving me or helping me stay engaged is just that love and sense of community and sense of needing to give back and provide, and also from just the immense amount of support I get from my colleagues and from friends and family members who really believe that this work will help shape a more sustainable aquaculture industry. I think that the real joy in your PhD, so first of all, you're never going to know everything. I know that PhDs are considered experts in their field, and that is technically correct, but as a PhD student, you just kind of realize how much you don't know. But what you really get out of it is this amazing skill sets you pick up along the way. It's the relationships you build. It's like what you discover about yourself and your capabilities that is really what to me, a PhD, the biggest benefit was those skill sets you build. You're not going to know everything, but understanding how to ask for help and where to, you have resources and how to get those resources and how to be a resource to other people. I think that is the biggest benefit of getting a PhD. For me, if I could go back and give advice to myself in my 20s, it's just to never give up. Always listen to your gut. Always believe in yourself and know that it's not realistic to think that you're ever going to know everything. I think that following your own path, listening to your intuition, knowing that everybody has their own time for everything, and you're never in competition with anybody else. You're only in competition with yourself, and that is okay. Well, I was going to say that Marine Mammal Care Center is a great way. There's tons of volunteer opportunities, not only with your organization, but with a vast amount of organizations in California. When I moved down to Southern California, I actually became involved with the Boca Chica Conservatory. I think volunteering with local organizations that have an ecocentric focus is a fantastic way to not only get involved in your community, but also